إذا بروحي أي مبوناقي إننا قوميدا ومتانا مركينا عبين ومغلا كم مشغول فيو أمحنا دودي ملقيان مركي وايان بروقي عيل أهامو تيستان إذا بروحي أي مبوناقي إننا قوميدا ومتانا مركينا عبين ومغلا مشغول فيو محنا دودي ملقيان مركي وايان بروقي عيل أهامو تيستان وحي بدان مروي كو قبو كل الميسان ماري سيرسا وحي بدان مروي كو قبو كل الميسان ماري سيرسار كمقوينا الله مسالكي كالك سيدا مالكان الله كموتلها مرمر دوكيو سيدا ميريه لين معانتان كوميرا لها محبدان مروي كو قبو كل الميسان ماري سيرسار محبدان مروي كو قبو كل الميسان ماري سيرسار كمقوينا الله مسالكي كالك سيدا مالكان الله كموتلها مرمر دوكيو سيدا ميريه لين معانتان كوميرا لها كل جوغ معان وح مشاكل ما دريمو كل كنيل كل جوغ معان وح مشاكل ما دريمو والمقصودة مركن كوركو مير كيقاد نعينو تهو مفتاح ديقا وأهمانكو مسكح ذايدان الله ملكيو دقي مفتاح ديقا وأهمانكو مسكح ذايدان ملكيو دقي كل ميل كل جوغ معان وح مشاكل ما دريمو كل ميل كل جوغ معان وح مشاكل ما دريمو والمقصودة مركن كوركو مير كيقاد نعينو تخو مفتاح ديقا وأهمانكو مسكح ذايدان الله ملكيو دقي مفتاح ديقا وأهمانكو مسكح ذايدان الله ملكيو دقي مودنتان دمر كمداي ميدكتان ميدكتان بيدحدا كمرمين مودنتان دمر كمداي ميدكتان بيدحدا كمرمين صدق مارقيو ومخراتيا إنا قوميدا أن مشاحنون كيما صيرنا مهوراني محسلامين تا أنو موجنو كيما صيرنا مهوراني محسلامين تا أنو موجنو.
This year's gala is addressing a very important issue in our community. The objective is to engage and raise awareness by holding several discussions here tonight by esteemed guests, speakers, and panelists. And these are issues that either we have experienced ourselves, the issue of mental health, particularly in a post-pandemic world, is something that we have experienced ourselves or loved ones have experienced. But as a community, we also know that we face unique and challenging situations ourselves as immigrants to this community who've come often from challenging environments and war-torn societies. As well, people that don't have the supports, family and loved ones around them, as many of us are here on our own without our extended family. All of these, as well as the environment and the situation and all the pressures in life, this issue has impacted us significantly. So tonight's gala will begin to address that with our speakers and panelists, and then we'll have a wonderful meal And I heard there's some more fun after that. So it's a bit of everything, a little bit of awareness and learning and community building, and lots of fun towards the end. I want to take the opportunity now to invite the two women who are behind this. I think I'm here because of them, literally no one else other than Allah. So Nasteha, or most of you know her as Naz, is better known by her YouTube name, of course, Naz. She has over 85,000 subscribers on YouTube, and she has a strong following on all social media platforms. I don't even have TikTok, and I get her videos from TikTok regardless. She has a master's in international development. She's a civil servant working with non-for-profits in Ottawa, and she's a mother of a wonderful young man, and her family is her source of strength and where she gets her motivation from. Standing with her is Nino Ibrahim. Many of you know her. Nino is well known in the Djibouti community, both here in Ottawa and across the globe. She is a teacher by training, particularly teaching in computer science. She spent many years, 16 years, in the Ministry of National Education in Djibouti, and was the head of the computer department in her school. She is currently also a public servant with Public Services and Procurement Canada, and she's involved in so many other initiatives. The Djibouti Association of National Capital, the Djibouti Canada Solidarity Organization, and she's also involved in the school boards in Gatineau. And although she's very active in the community and in the world, she makes time for her beautiful daughters, who I've had the opportunity of meeting some of them last time, whom she ensures to motivate them and to so they can become the best versions of themselves. So both of you, welcome.
And welcome to our second annual Eid Gala. My name is Nasteha Ahmed, or Naz Ahmed. I'm the co-founder of Geeska Afrika, which means Horn of Africa, with my friend / Havo, Nino Ibrahim. So who are we? We are an organization made up of members of the Somali community of the national capital. Our mission is to support and uplift our community by providing a space to come together, network, exchange, and discuss some issues such as inclusion, isolation, racism, mental health, and much more. So following the success of last year's Somali Empowerment Eid Gala, we are excited to embark on a similar initiative this year. In order to formalize our organization, we have established it as Geeska Afrika, which again means Horn of Africa, as a non-profit organization. Our long-term objective is to promote inclusivity, outreach, and celebration of our Canadian East African community. Each year we focus on a particular subject, and this year we will be addressing mental health challenges for youth. Of course, we all know that the well-being of our young generation is paramount, and it is imperative that we tackle those challenges heads-on. Mental health issues have become increasingly prevalent among young people. The pressure and expectation they face can take a toll on their emotional well-being, and as a society, we must create a supportive environment that fosters open conversations and provide resources to address mental health concerns. So in general, our aim is to empower young people, encourage them to share their perspective and make positive choices. Tonight, we came here to join forces and create a compassionate and understanding environment that nurtures the mental health of our youth. Together, we can make a significant impact and pave the way for a brighter future. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. Marhaba, ahlan wa sahlan. Nasiib aan leeyihiin caawa. Waan soo koobayaa way nastaxay daalisay marka nasiib aan yarteen waqtiga waa koobayaa maanta. Caadi ahaan markaan hadalka bilaabo ma joojiyaba. Marka aad iyo aad baad mahadsantihiin dhammaantiin inta xaggan isugu timiday. Anu waxaan maanta af Soomaali baan ku hadlayaa. Qaar af Soomaali garanayeen meesha bay ku jiraan iyo Ingiriis. English. Somali. Je peux le faire en français aussi. لكن في Somali كان حجينا أوكي. أوكي مركا وحويا نستحى ويدا ما يسهل. أنا ما ركتي كمسي بيربيرنا يوم. وحويا واحد هالكن سكوني من ذي إن نسبرنا إن وضع شيء كيسنو إن ندقيسنو martidan sharafta leh inoogu timid halkan dhalinyaro iyo dhalinyaro yar ka waaweyn oo nii warrami doona inkastoo dhalinyaro isku taraya anigu oo nii sheekayn doona oo maaragtay waxaad la wadaagi doontiin halka dambe waxaa yaala alaabaad iibsan kartiin maaragtay oo la share garin kartiin dadkeenii marka aad iyo aad baad u mahadsantihiin hadalkeedu kuma dheeraynayo habeenku ha inoo bilaabmo maxamed sawfa waad mahadsantihiin.
I forgot to mention earlier that Nasteha and many of the people here themselves are entrepreneurs in the community and contribute lots of value to, usually in this society, especially in Ottawa, we go to 9 to 5 when we come home. Many people in the room, as you'll find out tonight, are playing multiple roles in the community. And one of those things are to help grow our economy and create the next generation of entrepreneurs in our city and in our community. It is my pleasure to welcome one of our key speakers tonight. I don't know if I have to read these bios because I know a lot of these folks myself really well, but I will say a few things about her. Naima Ali is someone who's really known in this community. I was inspired through her work with the Justice for Abdurrahman Abdi Coalition since 2016 during an unfortunate crisis. And she's played so many active roles in the community, creating leadership and empowerment programs for young women in the community, being involved in NGO and humanitarian initiatives, both here and back home. She is an educator by training. She is on the boards of the Community Health Center Somerset West here in Ottawa, and she's a chaplain at Carleton University, and currently holds the official Work 9 to 5 title of being the principal of the Abroad School here in Ottawa, the secondary school. Naima, welcome.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سؤال هذا دمان محمد الله ما دارين كرام ملايين نبغى وحسب دينا هكا كان وهذه قرأ على هاني سان دمان انتي نف صومالي أنا قنعة وتشالنج كيف وحوين أنا في صومالي كهذا سومين وإنجليش قاو واحد مدة مركا لقى حلو لما نقف كمركي لسوي ويني أو ما قاعد هذا الشيء وحياة بدون أن الشيء باكرة مركو حندوني إن قدروا إن معركتي هيدتك ودن كسر قحي أنا أركي حدي أنا هكذا معناه ذي وحوي مسكحة ذي وحي اسكو ديرسا أريد إنجليش كيني في صومالي وبدش مركا كشذا وحكيني واسع وقدنا نوعنا الحوجنا مركا ودن كي كسر هكذا كحالة الحمد لله هو يصد حرورة هاي ستا and marka waxaan idin kula hadlayaa khibrad ah 30 sano oo caruur korin ah 15 sano oo macalinimo in Canada ah iyo 5 sano oo maaragtay hadda iskuul aan ka ahay hogaamiye marka runtii waxaad moodaa badankeena in aynu hooyooyinka Soomaaliyeed ama dumarka Soomaaliyeed shaqeynaya hadana caruurta korinaya anaga naftirkeena inaynu ka hadalno ama aynu eegno ama aynan ilaawin caafimaadka maskaxdeena marka runtii markaan toobada eegay caruur baa laga hadlayaa waxaaba niyadeyda ku soo dhacday maxaa dhacay anaga hooyooyinkaaba u baahan in aynu runtii ka fikirno ama aynu ilaalino caafimaadka maskaxdeena marka hadaynu horta nahay dadka Soomaaliyeed وأنا هوست كحريقنا أو أنو كجذبنا إن أنو هوست ودقنا عفمات كمسكحة وأنا كراء أو أنو لصقنا هذا وعي اللي بتشرو عفمات كمسكحة وحودق مع عفمات كشركة يعني هدي قفك أما لفتو شبتو أما هو يسوق ورقة سوق هذا ورقة أي فرتك جويسو سيدا أرو دايدو أما أرو بحنا نسوي كل دوينتها ما أورنك تقف لفتي شبتك على سافر يسافر فاتحة وآخره inkastoo dee faataxada ay muhiim tahay qofkii warqadii goysana dee ma odhan kartid dee dhiig waxaa iska socdo weli faataxa ugu akhriya marka inagoo faataxadii iyo qur-aankii iyo diintii iyo dhaqankii intaba wadana waxaa loo baahan yahay inaynu xoogga saaro fahamka ah in caafimaadka maskaxda uu lamid yahay caafimaadka jirka taa macnaheeduna waxa weeye waxaa jirta xanuuno badan oo sida xanuunada jirka ku dhaco kale ama kansarka ha noqoto ama macaanka ha noqoto ama ha noqoto ilmahaagu hadduu neef qabo oo uu qaadanayo bahasha neefta intaba dee waxaas oo dhan dhakhtar unbaa dawada qori kara dhakhtar unbaana ka bixin kara waxa ilmahaas u baahan yahay marka waa inaad waxaa jira xadiis soomaaliduna ay mahmaah u leedahay oo ah awrkaagana xidho ilaahayna tala saaro waa actually waa xadiis horta waxaan idinka ilaaway waxay ahayd inaan kaftan ku bilaabo waabad ilaaway imise mahmah ayaa caruurta iyo geela saamaysay ay caawin kara imise mahmah caruurta iyo geela wuxuun iska sheeg mid ii sheeg mid iska sheeg anaa idin bilaabay geel laba jir soo wada mar soo ma waa caruurta markay ku dhibaan isku dayaan inay kaa caqli badiyaan geel laba jir soo wada mar haye maxaa kale way badan yihiin soomaa soomaalida geelu waa ku muhiim bar geeluna dhibaato badan buu naga saaraa geeluna waa adkeysi badan yahay geela dhaqadiisuna waxyaalo badan bay u baahan tahay marka xoolaha aanu sharafta weyn ku qaadano wadankeena waxaa kamid a geela waana lagu guuraayo dee wuxuu ahaa gaadiid dhan buu ahaa marka xadiiskani waaba muhiim inkastoo annaga wadankeena geeliina aanu dhaqan u lehna oo ah awrkaaga xidho geelaaga xidho ilaahayna tala saaro war ilmihii yaraa ama adigii ama hooyadii ama aabihii ama communitygii haddaad aragto qof ay haysato caafimaad xagga maskaxda ah bal horta waxyaalo waxaa jira adigoo aad wax ka qaban karto iyo waxyaalo dhakhtar wax ka qaban karo marka sideedaba arrimaha caafimaadka maskaxda waxaa keena anigu dhakhtar ma ihi macalin unbaan ahay school laakiin sideedaba haddii dadka aad dhegaysato waxaan takhasuska u leh waxay ku leeyihiin waxaa keena miisaanka oo dhaca marka qofku meel wuxuu joogaa dhakhtar mooyaane mar waxaa jira uu qofku gaadho meel dhakhtar mooyaane cid kale aysan waxba ka qaban karin inuu dawo qaato seexisa oo hurdadiisa dib u soo celisa ama walwalka ka qaada ama cabsida ka qaada inuu taa qaato mooyaane aan wax kale qur-aanka ku akhri laakiin weli dawadaas u baahan yahay saymaas ilmahaygu haddii la yidhaahdo warlooska ha cunin ee uu cuno korkiisii oo dhan uu bug yidhaahdo bararo haddaa idhaahdo qur-aan baan la fariisana waxaa laleeyahay ilmaheeda iyadaa dishay waa inaad cirbada yareed ku dhufataa soo maaha kadibna qur-aankay ku akhrisaa marka waa inaynu eegnaa xanuunada nafsada markay noqoto kuweebaa dhakhaatiir u baahan kuweebaase u baahan maaragtay maxay ahayd wale waane iyo qur-aan iyo intaba inkastoo mar walba waanada iyo qur-aanku ay meesheeda tahay marka anigu waxa keliyaan rabay dhowr eray inaan ka bixiyo ka hortagga ama waxyaalaha sahla in ay noo fududaato in aynu xallino ama aynu yarayno ama aynu xal u helno xanuunada maskaxda weliba markaan saa idhaahdo waa inaan ku daraa 100 xanuuno waxaa jirta dhakhtar uu daaweyn karo marka ilmaheena ka tusaale ahaan ilmaha maalin walba aan ku arkay iskuulada marka qaarkood dadku markay dhahaan imise caruuraad leedahay inaan 3 lahaa waan ilaa walaa dhowr boqol baan sheegay waayo qaarka iyaga macallimiinta iyo principalka anagu ilmo waliba waa ilmaha iyagii waxaanu doonaynaa sida ugu wanaagsan inay noqdaan marka caruurta Soomaaliyeed dhibaatada haysata aan arko aniga maamul ahaan markaan arko ilmo yar oo Soomaaliyeed ama kala soo galay ama xafiis loo soo daray dhibaatooyinka dhowr dhibaato ayaan arkaa oo soo noqnoqdo waana soo gaabinaya midda koowaad waxaa laga yaabaa bulshada dhibaataa inay haysato ilmo yar oo maxay takooray cunsuriyiin lagu sameeyey maxay ahayd toole cidina aysan dhegaysanaynin taasi waa dhibaato midda kalena waxa weeye ilmihii markuu gurigii tago ee uu dhibaatadiisa yiraahdo waalidku u sheeg waxa gurigii jooga waalid maqana jooga ama wayba kala maqan yihiin aabihi hooyaba ama way joogaano xoogsi bay ku jiraan ama guri weyn oo la iibsaday lacagtiisa hala bixiyo amaba Afrika iyo meelo kale ha lagu kala maqnaado bad waalidkii waa maqana jooga ilmihii marka ma haysto cid uu la sheekaysto oo qalbigiisa dejisa oo yiraahdo anaa ku jecel anaa hooyadaay anaa aabahaay caruurta haddaa tiraahdo haye iska waran maalintaadii ka waran waxay ku leeyihiin waxba haye iskuulka iga waran waxba maxaa doonaysaa waxba marka waa inaad tiraahdo haye maanta maxaa ku walwalgeliyey yaa kaa cadhaysiiyey maanta macid baad la dagaalantay maanta maxaad baratay maanta cuntadaadi maxaad cuntay 10 nooceed xisaabta dhigid waa inaad su'aalo hoos u galgala waa adigu wixii faaqidiisa waa inaad gashaa marka waalidkeena berigii hooyadii oo Allah u naxariistay imika way dhimatay dhowr bilood ka hor ayaa markay ka hadasho dhibaatadii anaga nagu soo korisay ayay waxay ku anagoo baadiyo joogno ari raaci waxaan ku hooyo carruurta kanada joogta sida arigii baa loo raacaa marka ari kalaynu raacaynaa weliba arigana durwaa wax ka weyn baa cunaya marka waa inaynu xooga saarnaa waxa aan kusoo halka kusoo gabagabayn lahaa xadiis nabiga calayhi salaatu wasalaam uu yiri oo ah xadiiskan sideedaba awrkaaga dabro ilaahayna tala saaro marka waxaa jira xadiis nabiga calayhi salaam uu ka hadlay carruurtu waxay maraan xaalado kala duwan markay yaryar yihiin waxay u baahan yihiin dhunkasho waxay u baahan yihiin korid waxay u baahan yihiin maaragtay inuusan dalowga ka dhicin marka waa inaad maaragtay eegtaa carruurtaadu da'da ay marayaan waxa waa stage-ka kuwaad midka labaada carruurta marta waxa weeye inuu carruurtu u baahan yahay oo kale in wax loo sheego ama loo xasuusiyo marka inta badan waxaan arkay inankayga weyn saan u koriyo inankayga yar hadda uma koriyo inankayga weyn anigu iga baqi jiray inuu wax sameeyo ama hooyo inay ku aragto laakiin markaan arkay inaanan dili karin 30 sano carruur korinay marka khibrad way isbedelaysaa markaan arkay inaanan kanada dili karin oo shaqaaladuna shaqaynayn iminka kaya waxaan ku idhahdaa anigii adiga ba ilaahay baa ina arkaya marka guriga markaan ka tago waxaan ku idhahdaa hooyo dadku markay guriga cidlo ku noqdaan ama aad iPad-kaaga haysato shaydaanku marka qaarkood waxbuu ku waswaasinaya waxaa laga yaabaa inuu ku yidhaahdo hooyo ku arki maysa halkan gala hooyo ku arki maysa cid kan la sheekayso marka waa inaad ogaataa ani adigaba ilaahay baa ina arkay marka waxaa loo baahan yahay carruurteena inaynu qalbigoodii hanano aynu ilaahayna ku xidhno sheeko badanna aynu la sheekaysano dagaalkii waddankeennii ka weyn baa halkan ina haysta marka waalidiinta Soomaaliyeed haddii aan soo gabagabeeyo waxa weeye waqti badan ma haysto waxa ugu weyn ee carruurteena badbaadin karta waxa weeye ilmahaaga inaad la sheekaysato nabiga calayhi salaatu wasalaam waxyaalo caado u lahaa waxa weeye markuu guriga ka baxayo inantiisa wuu sii dhunkan jiray markii dambe xataa carruurtu awowayaashu iyaga wuu dhunkan jiray ku hadlayna Ingiriisi yaa daawaday showga la yiraahdo Blackish ma daawateen gabadha waa inaan sheekada sheega inanku waxa weeye gabadhu waa cadaan iyo madow waa iska dhalay inanku laakiin waa madow hooyadeed marka waa cadaan hooyadeed baa guriga imanaysa waxay arkaysaa okay timer baan gabadhiisa markii ugu qaaday 1 minute macallin baan hawaana xuquuqda ilaaliya marka gabadhu waxay leedahay hooyadeed baa cadaan markaas waxay arkaysaa gabadheedii dhammayd ee dhakhtarada ahayd ayaa intay saxan bariis ku soo gurtay digaag ku soo gurtay ninkeeda u keentay markaas waxay ku tiri aniga jaamacad baan ka soo saaray dhakhtarad baad waa maxay ninkanaad saxanka u keenaysaa way xanaaqday ceeb bay u aragtay marka maalintii dambe waxaa timid hooyadii markaas wixii baa laga hadlay marka tusaale waxaan kusoo gabagaynay hooyadii waxay tiri aniguba berigii 1950 iyo 60meeyadii waanu siin jiray ninkayga cuntada waanu samayn jiray waana u keeni jiray waayo waxaan doonayay inaan tuso banaanka waxaa lagaa dhigay adoon silsiladaa lagu xiray nin matihid baa lagu yiri xaqaagii baa la jabiyey waxaan rabay guriga markuu yimaado inaan tuso in reerkiisu jecel yahay inaan anigu jecelahay sidaa daraaddeed ayaan saxanka cuntada uga soo buuxin jiray gabadheedii kale cadaanka ahayd ayaa kacdo iyaduna waxay tiri ninkaygan bariis u soo diray Soomaali gale marka waxaan ka soo wadaa qofka kula degan dhibaatooyin badan baa aqalka dibadiisa ka jira marka waxyaalaha ugu weyn ee nabiga calayhi salaatu wasalaam uu baray waxa weeye ilmahaaga inaad dhunkato tiraahoya anaa ku jooga markaad dhunkato waxa weeye guriga haddii lagu dilo xafiiskii macalinkiina dhagaysan waayo qofkii iskuulka haystay inuu cunsuriyad ku sameeyo wuxuu xasuusanayaa markuu baxay inaad xaq siisay ama aad dhunkatay markuu kuu soo noqdeen inaad tiraahdo maalintaadi ka war marka waddankan Kanada aynu joogno carruurta dil laguma hanto qaylo laguma hanto canaan laguma hanto waxaa lagu hantaa raxmad iyo naxariis iyo soo dhaweyn ee carruurteena aynu hanano jazakallah khair
Thank you, Naima. Aad umahadsan tahay. By the way, principal on Sohelnay, courtesy of Google Translate. And anyways, أنا بحب عيال روحاني ومعمولة. Naima, aad umahadsan tahay. You know, I think one of the positive things about Naima speaking Somali is the power of storytelling. in Somali is so much greater than anything we can say in English. Just gabaygaayar, and mahmahaha, and dhaqankaagu ma tago. Laga yaabo inaan luqadiis yara adkaato oo aadan isticmaalin on a daily basis, but your dhaqanku ma tagayo, dareenkuna ma tago. And that, especially this generation, next generation, that's another question. And so thank you very much, Naima. Waxaan, I'm gonna follow speaking Somali too. I can switch back and forth, I have no problem. Our next speakers are two amazing leaders in our community. Many of you know them, Mahmoud Elmi and Amun Umar. These two have been married since 2006 and have 3 wonderful children together. When they met, they were different individuals and were brought up in different households, of course, and participated in different activities. But when they got together, they realized their common interest of giving back to others. And that has really been their journey over the past almost now, 17 years? 17 years, mashallah. Their experience as obviously some immigrants has contributed to what they do, and that has shaped who they are. And one of the things they realized early on is their how people don't have what they have, particularly what they identified as a need in rural Somalia, in the city of Bursalah, is the lack of education for rural kids. And when they saw that, they took action. In 2008, they established Somali Hope Academy, and today, moving forward, they have 950 children receiving free education at Hope Academy in Bursalah. This year, they'll be celebrating, oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps just saying this, the 3rd grade 12 class, which is really a remarkable journey if you think about where that school was just 11, 12 years ago. And as obviously you know their work in the community, both of them are active here, and they contribute in so many ways. Amun is a civil servant here. She's also a business owner, and Mahmoud was formerly a police officer, and recently was the first Somali Canadian appointed to the Ontario Court of Justice. Just what, a year ago? 2 years ago. 2 years ago. So I don't have a lot to say that you don't know about these two. We appreciate all you do for the community and for the 950 kids in Bursalah. Welcome, please.
I hope everyone's doing good. Oh my God, it's a beautiful view from here. Everyone looks wonderful. Regardless of a couple empty chairs, everyone looks really good. So like Mohammed said, I'm Amun Omer. This is my wonderful Mahmoud Elmi. He will introduce himself. My wonderful husband. Should I say yeah, my wonderful husband, not my Mahmoud Elmi. That's how I addressed you. Like Mohammed said, we've been married for, it's gonna be 17 years and 2 weeks, inshallah. We do have 3 wonderful kids together, mashallah, which 2 of them are youth, like teenager age almost. One of it is teenager. So tonight the theme is youth and mental health. In our remarks, Mahmoud and I decided to focus more on the youth through volunteering. And before, and I let Mahmoud and explain more about the connection between volunteering and mental health and youth. I just want to mention why is volunteering a dear subject of ours, why we love volunteering, and why is the subject that we choose to address tonight. It's because, like I said, volunteering is something we're passionate about. It's something that's been in our life through the moment we met. A little fun story, fun fact, Mahmoud and I actually met volunteering. So it's in our DNA. So for the boys and girls out here that alafdon, volunteering is not a bad idea. So I'll come back and I'll give Mahmoud to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mohammed, for the wonderful introduction. And of course, thank you for summing that up. The job is though, when we met, who started the conversation, right? So, I mean, you can guess, but but honestly, it's truly an honor and a pleasure to be here. This is my second year, obviously, speaking at this event. Stefo and Nina, thank you very much for everything you guys do in terms of bringing us together, and of course, organizing such a wonderful event. And it's also speaking about an issue that really does impact in our community in a lot of ways. And of course, we're not a mental health experts, but we do a lot of work with youth, and especially, my previous work, I used to receive a number of calls, especially when it comes to young families who are struggling with children that are facing obviously mental health issues or challenges, I should say. And sometimes also this issue or this challenge itself is a taboo in our community. And we wait until actually things get a very difficult situation where there's nothing we can do. We can do about it, or sometimes it become even fatal. So the task for me and the Moon was to talk about mental health and youth, and also the connection between volunteering, when you volunteer or doing good work, and maybe a mental health well-being. And the question is there a connection between volunteering or doing good work and mental health well-being? And a lot of the studies have shown, at least some of the research that we've done, and as I stated or said, we're not a mental health experts, but when you do actually volunteer, when you do give back, and when you go beyond actually what you as an individual, and you look at the issues that impacts other people around you, studies have shown, in fact, by volunteering, you can improve your mental health well-being in a lot of different ways. Some of the things that was talked about is sense of purpose and meaning. You look at a lot of the kids, especially now, we spend a lot of time on social media. There's a lot of pressure from society to be perfect, to speak well, to dress well, to not to make mistakes. And there's a lot of pressure for a young person to deal with. But when you look out on the country, when they say, never mind about this aspect of life, but rather let me see if I can give back. Let me see if I can be part of something that's actually bigger than me as an individual, greater than me as an individual, and they do that. Studies have shown there's a lot of success in terms of from that aspect.
Yeah, well, another way as well, it's social connection. So we know that when you volunteer, you have to interact with people. You can't volunteer by yourself. So you go into the community, you make those connections, you make great people, you make your own circle of friends, and then those people will become your support system. So that's another way to get out of your bubble, to get out of your comfort zone. I know a lot of us and struggle with always staying within our comfort zone, but sometimes when you just get out of that and you just give yourself a little push and you go within it, helping in your community, those are great skills and just ways for your mental health well-being.
And of course, the studies we've seen also, it gives you, when you're part of something bigger than you, it gives you an opportunity to actually maybe sometimes forget about your challenges and help somebody that's struggling actually more than you. That alone, it's a good, and I'm not saying you volunteer because it's a good field exercise thing to do, but rather doing it well, where you actually do get that sort of satisfaction of helping other people who are actually maybe in a more difficult situation than you.
So obviously, there's many ways where volunteering and mental health well-being comes together, but we'll just mention a few. So the last one of the last one I want to mention that was important as well, it's increased self-confidence. So when you volunteer, it boosts your confidence. You feel way comfortable being out there, talking to people, and just and the community recognize you. So when people give you confidence to you, when they see you and they say, hey, I know you from where, and that place, and you're doing a great job. and it gives you that boost to continue doing great work.
We're almost there. We're almost there. So, you know, and you can do the research yourself. There's really, and just to sum it up, there's a correlation between volunteering and good mental health, and you can look at it. A lot of studies have shown, and we've given you some pointers in terms of some of the things that can come out if you do actually get out there, you know, and you participate in you know, taking part of the community that you're part of, and I'll sum it by saying, look, as I stated, we're not mental health experts, but I can tell you, as I say from the beginning, some of the challenges, even working in this current position that I'm in, we're not, you know, the challenges of mental health is not something that's just our community deals with, but rather it's something that's the entire world is grappling with, the entire community is grappling with. There's no shame of you know, people going through these challenges. But I'll just leave it with three things. Number one, I would say, look, you know, pray, you know, do a good prayer for people that are going through some of these challenges. We all have different challenges, but if you can do that. Secondly, you know, if someone is dealing with this, or a friend or a family, get some help. You know, asking for help, you know, it's not a weakness. It's more of actually, it's more of a strength. It's courageous to do that, and you know what? Things can only get better from that. And the third thing I would say is that, look, if someone comes to you as a family member or a friend, and they confide to you and they tell you about some of the challenges they're facing, you know, the onus or the duty is on you to actually help that person. But not only in that, but also to ensure that you keep that confidential in a lot of different ways. You know, the information that they share with you, they confide to you about the challenges that they're facing. You know, you should obviously respect that and ensure that that you keep that what they share with you, because that's the only way people will come forward. That's the only way that people are going to seek help, and they're going to ask their family members, they're going to ask the people that they know. If they know that people that they confide to, or the people that spoke about the issue, that they would keep it actually confidential. They would actually try to help them in a sincere way to ensure that the person gets better and they get the help that they need.
Yeah, so I'll just end by saying, you know, two things that I think that are dear to me, and I tell people often is, you know, speak up. You know, if you feel, if there's something said to you at the moment, don't hold it back. Say it, you know. Even if you regret it later, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. But I'm not saying in a rude way, say something rude back or whatever, but speak your mind. Be true to yourself, you know. Don't let people just tell you things and you didn't say what you have to say. That's number one thing. And the second thing, I mentioned it earlier, it's try to get out of your comfort zone. Often enough, we hide behind walls. We say, I'm this person that said this is who I am. No, you can do better. You can improve yourself every day. Every day is a new day. So try to push yourself. And you know, as we just said, we're founders of charity organization, so obviously we're always looking for volunteers. So, you know, you can come and reach out to us. But thank you so much for the moment you have gave us, and I know we've passed the time, but I want to congratulate and thank you so much to Isnino and Nasteha for inviting us, for having us to be your guest speaker tonight. This is a great event. May Allah bless your new organizations that you founded, and go Geeska Afrika.
Oh, I'm loving these speakers. They're all on time. There's 2 minutes to go. MashaAllah, and Mahmoud Yamoun or Masantihin, Ilahi Din Barakayo. And you know what's interesting is we're talking about sort of a big issue, but eventually it all comes back to the house. It always comes back to the home. And I think, you know, that foundation and having role models like, you know, Mahmoud and Amoun in the community itself is very positive. Because that's how you begin to build the idea of a household, a home, a family, right? A lot of us grew up without fathers. I know Mahmoud and I knew each other for a long time before they were married. Amour and I were neighbors. You know, we know the reality that of our community and our upbringings and the conflicts and, you know, family separations. Having ourselves cemented in good, strong families is the beginning of of healing and strengthening our community overall. So thank you for sharing. I think that's powerful in so many ways. Just the image of the two of you is great, so thank you so much. The next speaker, actually, I don't know if I can paraphrase her bio, so I'm actually going to read. I've known Hamdi the longest, our next speaker, of all the people here, but I still can't paraphrase her bio. So Dr. Hamdi Mohammed is an organizational transformation consultant, social historian, researcher, and founder and principal at Cafe Consulting. She works in the area of organizational development, community building, and research. A deep commitment to transformative change, liberation, and communal healing guides her life, work, and research. As the former executive director of the Ottawa Community Immigrant Services Organization and the Ottawa Rape Crisis Center, she initiated and designed groundbreaking and socially innovative mental health programs. She lectured widely on refugee resettlement, human rights, anti-racism, public policy, and gender and politics in North America, Europe, and Africa. She published several research papers and contributed to numerous scholarly works, including books, international conferences, and seminars. Her academic research focuses on African diasporic experiences, community building, social activism, and Afro-Islamic traditional healing practices. Dr. Mohammed has received several leadership awards recognizing her for her community service and professional achievement. Some awards include Ottawa Black History, and being recognized as top 10 inspiring citizens to watch in Ottawa in 2010. She holds a PhD in women's history focusing on gender and state in Africa and Middle East, an MA in international diplomacy, and a Bachelor of Arts in African history and English literature from the Somali National University. Yay! MashaAllah. Please welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Beautiful people. Thank you for Geeska Africa for inviting us and bringing us here together. Of Somali iyo of English man isku qasaya which isku qaskaas waxa ka soo baxay wax aad u qurux badan. Waan gartay horaan u arkay marka I'm practicing. Waxaan ku bilaabayaa sheeko. Hooyo Soomaaliyeed baa ma maqlaysaa? Hooyo Soomaaliyeed baa dhibaatooyin badan ku dhaceen. Asal waa fahmi kartaa. Mar walba dhibaato dhacda, mar walba waxaa la yiraahdaa waa imtixaan iska samee. Way dhageysataa wax kala dhaca maalin kale. Waa loo yimaadaa waxaa la yiraahdaa imtixaan weeye iska samee. Way dhageysataa way iska aamustaa wax kala dhaca. Waa imtixaan iska aamus. Maalintii dambe waxay tiri hooyo waxaan idin weydiiyey imtixaanka miyaan laga baramoosin. I think this story captures the extent of the challenges we face. Runtii dhibka wuu badan yahay. And I'm not one that likes to dwell in dhibka, laakiin it's important to acknowledge. Because dhibka wuxuu keenaa xanuun, dhibka wuxuu keenaa jirooyin, dhibka wuxuu keenaa cuduro. Nimco way taabatay, Amuun iyo Maxamuud way taabteen. Dhibku waa real. Soomaalinimadu waxay ku wanaagsan tahay in many ways. Waxaan naqaanaa la yiraahdo dhexda xirta. Dhexda xirta waa the most beautiful, powerful approach to get things done. I always say Nike anaga sheekada naga xaday, just do it. We had it way before Nike. We should have branded it. Taasaan dhaaftay business wise. Laakiin runtii haddii laga hadlaayo dhexda xirta generations way soo saartay. Waxay soo saartay dadkan quruxda badan halkan taagan. Hooyo ku faysta, dhacaysa. Laakiin waxay tiri maxaa jira shaqa ii taala ma fariisanayo. Aniga markaan imid wadanka tan iyo xoogaa baan jiray aad u yaraa. Geesahan fiirnay anagoo yar baa luqadana ku hadli karay. Waxna soo bartay. Caruur badanna aan lahayn. Marka macnaheedu waxay ahayd we had the time, the energy and the inclination to say waa yahay dhexda xiranayna waxbaan qabanayna. Obviously wax badan aan qabanay, taariikhdaasna lama qorin, waa la qori doonaa. As a social historian, it's one of my commitment, insha Allah, in la ogaado taariikhdaas oo generationska dambe ay arkaan. Laakiin waxyaalaha aan qabanay waxay ahaayeen dowlad meel taaganna niraahno maya, saa u socotaan sharciga aa wadaan ma aha sharci xaq ah. Dowladdii baa maxkamadda geynay. And actually waan ka raynay dowladdii, xaqii waa soo ceshanay qaar ka mid ah. Markaan dib uga fakarno waxaan ka fakernaa waan kufnay, waan dhacnay, waa oynay, waan qosolnay, haddana waan kufnay, waan dhacnay, waa oynay, waa qosolnay. waxbaan baranay laakiin waxaan soo korinay haddaad fiirisid runtii hadda dhibaatooyinka jira, challenges jira, kuwii hore way ka yara duwan yihiin, laakiin haddaad fiirisid populationka Soomaalida ah, dhalinyarada Soomaalida idinkoo kale ah, runtii wax badanaa la qabtay, energy badan baa jira, and the simple fact statistically markii la hadlaayo waxaan haysanaa number aad u badan oo dhalinyaro ah. I often say that's part of the blessings that we need to count. Youthful energy, innovation, creativity. And I've been doing research on the one hand, social trauma, on the other, the social history, looking at who we are as people and what we're bringing. And it's absolutely, absolutely heartwarming to see the creativity in finding new pathways to challenge oppression, to call oppression for what it is, to find solutions not only for the Somali community, but for communities across the city, across the country. And that is being recognized. That is being recognized in many ways. But obviously, which is one of the reasons I know mental health and absolutely our racism from Mahadlayo because Afrika will fight. Like I know how the solutions can have speakers here in top 10, but I know Arab one how home as a resistance of as a site of resistance. That's a quote paraphrased from bell hooks. Bell hooks is similar to what Nimra was talking about. As black people, bananki nabat maha. Bananki wa naru'unaya, bananki wa naru'gogoynaya, therefore extra effort alo bahanya. Guri a place of nurturing, a place of love, a place of affirming the humanity, because what racism does is it actually assaults the dignity of people. So the young people need to find at home a place where they say, oh, I'm loved. Oh, I'm a human being that is important. Because certainly that's not what they hear at schools. Certainly that's not the messages, the cultural messaging that we hear. That's not what we know. So, a couple of good things, good news. One is great days are coming. I give you time to applaud. That is a fact. Beautiful days are coming. That's one. The other one is we got this. We absolutely got this. And this is not only based on the research I've done, and I have been doing a lot of research on this, but it's also Quranic teachings. We're actually told, for every difficulty, there are multiple E's. It's a fact. Obviously, when you're in pain, we say, when is the help of God coming? Mata Nasrullah. So it's acceptable to sometimes be exhausted and frustrated and ask those questions. We can't time God. We can't time Allah. We just can't. But what we know is they're coming. And that's glad tidings. It's actually something that gives us hope And it's beautiful. It's actually, having that hope is a part of psychological well-being. That means Allah has a plan, it's a divine plan, it will work out. You as people, including us, myself, is how to operationalize that. We're told good things are coming, how do we make that happen? Then we're told we got this, because we're told Allah does not burden individuals more than they can handle. So that means all the difficulties that come to us, we can handle it. We have been handling it, and not only handling it, but we have done in such a grace, compassion, courage, lots of audacity. And again, I'm not saying this because I love my people, and I do love my people. I'm saying this because I've done the research. This is what is happening across the country, across the world, in fact. As young people who are growing in different social realities, in some ways, I think your responsibility is to take this into consideration and find ways to operationalize. What does that look like in this context, in this day, in this time, in this city, in this community? That's something definitely you'll figure out. And obviously we're available for advice and sharing and all of that. And I want you to know, some of you may have grown up in a community that's struggling, in homes where things were difficult, but you come from a long line of people who are absolutely brilliant in the way they do things, and I'm talking about historically. When I was growing up, I often say, looking back, I always had a team of experts growing up. I had people I can go to, aunts, uncles, grandparents, big brothers, big sisters. I had people who nourished my creative side. I had people who nourished my intellectual side. I had people who nourished my spiritual side. I want you to know that sometimes that may not be accessible to you, but I'm giving you the invitation today. We are accessible to you. We have cried and all of that. Now that experience is all yours. You just have to ask. I ask Allah to bless all of you and all of us, and I ask Allah to protect all of us. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Bella. I'm from the Somali Center for Family Services. I've been there since 2015. Before that, I worked in the community for some time, so about a decade now I've been working in the community. At the Somali Center, currently I manage the youth department, and we also have a social enterprise, so a business that we run at Somali Center. It's called Dalo Property Maintenance, and we hire newcomers, and we have contracts with the city of Ottawa, we have contracts with OCH, so that's another hat that I wear at Somali Center. And in my personal life, I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. I have a business called Made with Sankofa that sells sea moss gel and sea moss smoothies. www.madewithsankofa. And Hassan Suleiman, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Hassan Suleiman. My background is in finance and accounting, so for about 10 years I've been working in that field, mainly in the public service. And recently I'm also doing some consulting, so helping businesses manage their data, making sense of it, making decisions out of it. And yeah, personal time, I'm just an auto guy. So.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Bilal Hassan. My background is science related. Currently I work for the Government of Canada in health research. Beyond that, I co-founded a non-profit organization in the thick of the pandemic. And then my proudest achievement, I would say, is my cosmetic line, which is Unparalleled Beauty Cosmetics. I think most of you here have heard about it. Shameless plug for myself as well, www.unparalleledbeauty.ca.
Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Noda Elmi, and I am a mental health therapist, a registered social worker. So I really grew up in the Ottawa community, so I think a lot of people I'm seeing today, it's like, hey, you look familiar, I know you from somewhere. So I grew up in the Ottawa community, but I would say in the last, for 4 years, I went to Toronto for a bit to finish up my master's and have a different kind of life experience, alhamdulillah. And then I got back and I was in kind of the thick of the pandemic, and I decided to start my own private practice in mental health. So alhamdulillah, I do that full time now. I'm a private practice owner, the founder of Elmi Counseling and Wellness Services. Myself and my team, which I'm super proud of, provide individual, family, and couples counseling virtually, and some of us do in person sometimes, but it really just depends on our capacity and our availability. And in my personal life, I am a mother, so I have a 3-year-old who did not want me to come here today because of tornado warning. He was still nervous about that. and I have a 5-month-old baby, mashallah, 2 boys. So it's been a lot juggling both, but alhamdulillah, I'm really excited to be here in this space to share with you guys. I do have some flyers over there, business cards if you wanted to get in touch and didn't have time to connect personally. And there's also the banner there for more information. You could just scan the QR code and it will bring you to all the links that I have.
Well, thank you everyone. The topic, so going back to the topic, feel free, this is an open topic, there is no mandatory contribution to the questions, so jump in as you want to. The topic is still on mental health and young people and families. So first question is pretty easy. When you hear the words mental health, what is the first thing that comes to mind? And have you dealt with mental health, or have you dealt with someone who had experienced mental health? We're starting this way, I'm going this way now.
Me and Bila said we're going to do this thing where we just toss the mic to each other and see who has to talk first. So, okay, 0-1, I get it. Okay, so for me, I feel like I wear a lot of different hats, right? So as a young Somali youth, who grew up in low-income neighborhoods, like when I think of mental health, I obviously think of the stigma, the taboo, how we don't talk about it, how our language doesn't really have capacity to kind of discuss mental health. Now as a Hoyo, very different kind of lens that I have, like how mental health, like my mental health impacts my children, my family, my lineage, right? Like the ways in which I deal with myself is super important. And I think the second part of the question is, do you know someone who's dealing with mental health? And so as a practitioner, I think it's important to mention that we all have mental health, every single person here in this room. And how it shows up for us is very different, and it depends on our environment, how we're socialized, on the community that you're in, the family, your finances, your education. It's probably like there's so many levels to it. And as I was driving here today, I was like, Nuda, be transparent, be vulnerable, and like be okay to share. So part of my journey now, having a 5-month-old, a lot of you guys know there's like postpartum stuff that happens. And I had to get a therapist real quick because I was like, it was a lot, you don't sleep at night. I have a toddler that I have to run after. I have a business that I have to run. I have family that I have to take care of. And at one point I was like, I'm starting to feel the symptoms. I'm starting to recognize. And so I was able to get help. And I love my therapist now. I see her bi-weekly. I make sure she doesn't miss a date. And so it's in all of us, right? No matter if you're Ofka, like that knows about mental health, or if you're the person who is not, like maybe aware of it as well.
So one word that comes to mind when I think of mental health would be stigma. I feel like within the Somali community, unfortunately, we associate like a negative connotation to the words mental health. And like Nora was saying, mental health affects everyone. It's not to say that you suffer from an illness, right? It's something that you have to kind of preserve, maintain, and protect. And I feel like something that I would want our community to change is like the terminology surrounding people who are afflicted with mental health. Often we'll say, and I feel like we're being very insensitive because on the flip side, like if someone is dealing with diabetes or cancer, we would never dare say those words, you know? We would never shame them for their illnesses. So I feel like it's time to extend the same grace to people who are unfortunately battling these things, right? And then in terms of my experience, alhamdulillah, I've never dealt with mental health illnesses, but I do feel like I deal with like a normal level of anxiety. You know, if I'm going into something that's new to me, I feel like it's normal to be a little bit nervous going into it. But unfortunately, I feel like we live in a time where every Somali family, or almost every Somali family, has at least one person who's dealing with mental health illnesses. So I'm very much happy to be part of this conversation. I feel like it's time to change the narrative surrounding these topics.
So when I hear the word mental health, the first word that comes to mind is self-care. We all have a duty over our body. The eyes are the windows of the soul, so what you see often affects what you want in your head, what you hear, and also your health as well. And from a mental perspective, it's your well-being. So in order to control all of that and try to make sure that you're in a good state of mind, I think it's important to, commit to yourself to, I would say, have good habits, right? Because at least from what I've seen so far, I'm not a professional, but little things that you do down the line can show up as mental health issues much later. There's an analogy that came up in a book that I was reading. It was, I think it had to do with planes. The pilot, each time that they lift off, they make sure that the direction is pointed specifically to where they want to go. A 2-degree difference ends up from the person landing in Paris or ending up in Italy. So those little habits that you carry day by day and being committed to yourself, if not done properly, then down the line you might have to work into fixing whatever it is that you're fixing. And at that point too, right? That's what life is about. It's about, if you slip up, just anything that happens, there's therapy. Sometimes we might not have the right tools to address those issues, so we have to look at therapy and get that professional help into making sure that it's resolved correctly. And it's better to talk to somebody about it objectively, right? Somebody that doesn't have an interest. Sometimes you might think, well, I want to talk to my friend about it. They might think something about me, but having somebody that has the credentials, it just helps just dish all those emotions, everything that you've been out and helping you out. So.
Alright, so I think we're all Somali here, so Xafladii. Mental health. Badanka awal waxa oran jiray xanuunka. Actually no, mental illness. That was my mistake. I used to say mental illness, but I think in life everything is a perspective. And this mic is not appropriate, so.
You had it at one point. Perfect. Yeah.
I think Christy has something. Yeah, I think it's good. So it's really a perspective, because at the end of the day, life is what it is. Like it's really your perspective of life that matters, and that makes a difference. The first thing that comes to my mind is stigma, especially in the Somali community. And mental health, like you said, it has different levels, right? There's a day-to-day mental health, anxiety, depression, little depression, there's, bipolar, there's other degrees, but the little one I'm talking about, the anxiety, the depression, that's something we all have on a daily basis. noloshayda, and Somali waxay tiraahdaa qof weyn yarba hadlo wala baabay ama qofku maxay ilba ku dhacday ama maxay kale. It's always unknown. Waxa la arkayay, it's never no. Dadka malahan soo dhawaysanaya wax kasta. Maybe I have to protect my sanity. Maybe it's self-work. Adigu isku noqo, isku fiirsan. But anyways, I'm skipping the questions. Let's come back. For me, mental health, the first thing is stigma, taboo, and I hope this conversation will eventually open the conversation for people to talk about it. And I always say, the first thing, everybody says, like what can we do? The first thing to do is just start talking about it. Because you guys hearing me talk about it makes you understand that I also, go through what you're going through, maybe in silence. So just start talking about it, and then the rest will follow.
So I'm going to echo what a lot of people have been saying in regards to stigma, but I'll take a different angle and say that when I think of mental health, I think of how the stigma has changed for the better. I remember when I was young, mental health conversations were not really had, and if they were, it was in a context of like, oh, mental health, like just toughen up, don't be soft, so those kind of conversations. But now I feel like there's been a shift in the way it's perceived. There's a lot of resources that are available. We have, alhamdulillah, we have young professionals now who from our community who help the community at large with mental health. At Center, we have a SNAP program. For Tanya Woods, they have a SNAP program. And for those who are not familiar with it, it's a cognitive therapy program for both parents and children. So parents who are dealing with, and children who are dealing with issues at school, when issues that CAS gets involved, we're able to support the parents and the children and take them through a curriculum. They come in person, we have a room for the parents, a room for the children, and we help give the parents the tools they need to deal with these issues. And things like that. Things like that weren't available to the public not even 5 years ago. So there has been a lot of positive change when it comes to mental health and that conversation. And events like this definitely help.
Thank you, everyone. That's great. So we started with introduce yourself. The next, in few words, right? Let's keep it short as much as possible. So going back, what advice would you give your younger self for mental health and wellness? We'll start with Bill.
I would tell my younger self to lean as much as you can into your identity. It's something that personally I would say helps strengthen my mental health. I remember being young and I was blessed enough to visit back home when I was in grade 8, summer of grade 8, and back then I remember having ideas of like the Western world, how we live here, and I had a stigma also back home. I would see what I saw on TV, and think that people are poor, or they're in despair, or they don't have resources. But when I went back home, I realized there was people who didn't have anything, but are 10 times happier than us here. And it really made me think about kind of what happiness was, what I guess mental health was, and why was it that back home in Canada, I see people who grab everything, but yet they were depressed, or and felt like they had nothing. So I would say in my life, in my journey, Somali Limo, my identity, being close in with my community has always protected me, and I would just encourage my younger self to do that.
I see you. Okay, so I really love that question, Okta. What would you advise your younger self? I say I would tell myself, this too shall pass, you know. And I think for me, what really made a difference is, first of all, awareness, knowing what is mental health. Because the worst thing that can happen to you is going through something and not knowing what it is, you know? So that's that. And also, a quote that I always remind myself is also ayat yan. I'm sorry, the baby I'm it's also is a lot of the burden of so more that you can handle out there. So I always remind me, you know, this life is what it is, and it's you can only control your emotions. How do you that can, you know, your parents, your family, your friends. Family is family, you don't choose your family, right? And they come with packages, and you cannot change them, you can only control your emotions. And also, the last thing I would add to it is protect your mental health, protect yourself, be very picky with the people that you select, the people that you welcome, because at the end of the day, they can impact on your energy. So that's what I would tell myself. And learn how to say no.
That was very good point. I think when we're young, we try to please a lot of different people just to be part of this situation, just to be, well, you know, I'm with the group, but as Stella said as well, having your own sense of identity. Like, wherever you are, it's okay. You can like whatever you want to like. Nobody's gonna say anything. So you have to double down on that and get a strong sense of identity. And as well, also leading those conversations is something that I would do if back when I was young. A lot of people, like as guys, people don't necessarily talk about it now. It's a lot more prevalent. But back then, just say, hey, like, how does this make you feel? When you think about it, just that little most of the times gives a little push for one guy to say, this is how I feel, and then so on and so forth. And then after that, to engage in a group discussion, and as well, not be quick to jump to conclusions. We don't know what's going on at the house for somebody else, so we can't say, oh, well, this person is crazy, this person has mental illness, this person is just a little bit off. Just take that time to really talk to the person and try to understand their situation in order to make a better judgment, or at least be that rock for them. Because down the line, that person will 100% come back and be appreciated.
So for me, one advice that I would have given myself is you can't be everything to everyone. I feel like oftentimes we feel like it's our sole responsibility to take on people's problems and like save them in a sense, but ultimately their qadar is written, you know. Some people have to go through a rough patch to get to, you know, a point of peace in their lives. Speaking from experience, I feel like as a first generation immigrant and the second eldest of 6 kids, I've always been labeled like the second mom in my family, so I feel like with that comes a lot of responsibility. You know, and there comes a time where you feel like, where you get to a point where you realize you can't really help everyone if you're not helping yourself. So put yourself first. Obviously help as many people as you can if you have the means, the resources, the time, the effort. But don't make it like your sole identity to fix everyone else. Make sure you're at peace within yourself first, and then you can kind of pour into others and extend that same grace.
So all really good
approach adulthood that you're gonna know exactly what you wanna do, who you wanna be, where you're gonna work. You know, your life is gonna be like really clear for you. But as I'm, you know, an emerging adult or into adulthood, and I have a lot of adult friends and we have conversations, I know that that's not true, right? Every day, subhanAllah, that you're blessed with a new life, right? Or your life is that you're evolving and growing, you know? My mother-in-law always says to me, like, nafsu wa ma'as, as in the sense of like, you think you know what you want sometimes, you know, and like you don't, right? So you're gonna arrive at your goal, you're gonna arrive at your destination, and subhanAllah, it's gonna change, it's gonna keep changing, and you're almost gonna feel like you're always kind of a little bit away from your goal. So I would say you don't always have to know what you want, just focus on the day ahead of you. And especially when we talk about mental health, a lot of young people kind of succumb to their own, like, I would say challenges because they're thinking so much of the future. I don't know what I want to do, I don't know what I want to be, and, you know, look at this person, X, Y, and Z is doing this, and there's too much comparison. So I'd say focus on your day-to-day, you know, what makes you happy, what do you need to feel good, how do you increase your own capacity, who do you need to talk to, right? Like, I would say focus on the small stuff. And then to add that all together, like, you are not alone. If you know a young person right now who's not in this room, please tell them that consistently, because again, something that happens for our mental, especially when we're extremely stressed, is that we somehow convince ourselves that we're in this, like, we're doing this alone, you know? We start to isolate ourselves, we start to remove ourselves from friends and family. You know, we say a lot, I hear young people say it all the time, you know, my mom and dad don't understand me, or this person doesn't understand me. Some parts of it might be true, but a lot of it is how our brain is kind of computing that. So tell young people that they're not alone, and if you know someone that you can provide support for, inshallah, do that as well.
So I would say, Amigo, especially when you're talking to Somali people, حاجة دين تضل like that's what I'm So Somali تضل حديث كواجرة أما بيجي يقول بيت كالفلايا لكن هذا تنيو شكل مسيم وضع So, Amigo, what I say is, also when I first encountered mental health, it was a burnout, and it was my job. I was doing a lot of things, and what really helps me, obviously, being to life, you know, and like you have to hold on to your religion, but also learn about the seed of the prophets. And the prophet went through depression and anxiety, and the other thing is that I actually learned a dua from the Prophet that says anxiety. The word anxiety is in the dua. So I'm like, listen, and one thing that is also always says, I don't know how she said, can you say your deed is and I agree with her, and it's true. You know what I say? If you really make research and really learn about Gita, you will understand that it is part of our religion. What was the question again, sorry?
Great, Naz. So I feel like having conversations, the difficult conversations like that will make a huge difference. Kind of like what we're doing right now. I feel like maybe everyone can go home to their families and kind of summarize what you've learned from today's panel. That'll kind of open the lines of communication surrounding mental health. Another thing that I feel like is necessary in our community is normalizing people seeking therapy. I feel like there's so much courage in someone waking up and deciding, you know what, my life is in my hands and I can do something about this. So we shouldn't shame them. If anything, we should commend them for taking those steps.
Just to add to that as well, I think the stigma that I often hear in the community is that if someone does seek support, that they can handle it or that they're very weak. And just like Bilam said, it's the quite opposite, right? Like you're courageous when you're going out to get support. So I think just to kind of encourage and invite people to get support is that typically we try to handle our own stresses, we try to handle our own, you know, our day-to-day life, right? But when you consistently see yourself kind of pushing against that and you're trying everything you can, you wake up every morning, you try to have a routine, you talk to your friends, you talk to your family, you're doing the work and it's still not helping you, then I would say this is a point in time where you can talk to a professional. I think it was Mohammed or Nuzar that mentioned about the confidentiality piece. So a lot of people also think, especially in our community, like, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, but reality is when you are seeking professional support, like we are bound by college, we're bound by benefits, we're bound by our job and our licenses to provide support to you in a confidential manner. And a lot of us do seek that own support for ourselves so that we can be available to you. So I know what it feels like to be a client, but I also know what it feels like to be a professional. So I want to encourage you guys that it is a safe space, inshallah, and that it's non-judgmental and a great way to get additional support if you need it.
We're almost there. 2 more questions. But look, this is one more. Okay. One more. So here's the next part of this. The reason why we're moving this forward is to give some of you an opportunity to ask questions and participate and offer commentary and share anything. So we want to sort of open this and then so get your questions ready or comments. You're gonna get like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, but certainly get ready if you have anything to add, inshallah. So the next question is maybe we can just put it together. So it's about talking about mental health at home. So what tips or advice would you give to parents on how to help their children and families' mental health? And second part of that is like, how do young people want to be talked to? Like, how do they want mental health to be brought up by adults or family members?
So the question was how should...
What tips would you give to parents on how to talk to them?
Okay, I would say when it comes to mental health, like I said, it's something that is very new, that we're open with these conversations, and we're having conversations about mental health that we've never had before. And probably our parents' generation maybe didn't have them at all. It's because I think about this a lot. I think we have two different realities. You know, usually a child and their parents, there's always going to be generational gap. That's normal, but for us, there's also a cultural gap, right? It's like the equivalent of us picking up our stuff right now, moving to China, learning Chinese, and having our children, you know, be into like Hello Kitty and stuff like that we don't understand, you know? And it's been like, you know, so, you know, our parents went through a lot, I would say like having that compassion, both ways, and putting that extra effort on communicating because of those gaps, because of those generational gaps, because of those cultural gaps. But in the end, those differences can be strengths. You know, there's a lot you can gain from the resilience of our parents' generation, parents, if they give the opportunity for their children to speak freely, you know, and really say what's on their mind, on their hearts, you know, maybe a lot of positive gain can come from that. And a lot of the times, maybe we are, you know, stuck in the hustle and bustle of life, and you know, we don't have those chances to have those conversations. So, having the opportunity to have those, it can make a world of difference.
Thank you very much for that. So I'll repeat the question. The question is, what tips or advice would you give to parents on how to help their children and families' mental health? So this is obviously mental health at home. And how do young people want to be supported with mental health?
So I will make it quick because I feel like I could talk about this topic long. For parents, one of our speakers mentioned this. start with yourself, right? When your mental health is okay, when you have the capacity, when you're rested, you eat food, and you take care of yourself, then you can show up for your children in a way that you have some space and some energy to do that. And just like Lila said, I think young people do want to talk about how they're feeling. They want to know that you will have the time for them. So I would say things like, we'll say to kids, turn off your iPad, turn off your phone, turn off this, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to kuso, right? So being able to balance that and create like moments in your, even if it's just a weekend, start there, right? Create moments in your family dynamic where you guys can share a meal together, you guys can go for a walk together. My kids are very little, mashallah, so my 3-year-old, before we sleep at night, I said, hey, tell me one good thing about your day and tell me one bad thing. And at 3 years old, he's able to say, Master, when you looked at me like that, I didn't like it, right? Or I was frustrated when you said this to me. And so, having those conversations for folks like the new generation having kids, have those conversations young, start young, and don't feel like talking about it is going to lead someone to have a mental illness. That's not how this stuff works. Talk about it and create space for it, inshallah.
marka su'aashii ugu dambeysay maxaad siin lahayd advice Soomaaliya ku sheegay anigu ma talo waano maxaad dadka siin lahaa dhalinyarta beritoona noqonaysa waalid maaragtay hooyo ama aabbo waxaan siin lahaa waxa weeyaan inagu dadka carruurta waska yaacaynaa buugtasiiroo maalayacni bullying baa jira soo markaas waxay dhahayn kani waa nacas kani waa saaqi kani waa sida kani waa sida markii lagu celceliyo ilmaha way ka dhacdaa waxaas marka markii kasta waxa loo baahan yahay in maaragtay wixii fiican ilmaha ku jirta fariidkaygii inantayda fariidahay marka inamada si fiican loo amaana laakiin yaa Soomaalida ma soo sheegaa hablaha saawa amaana waxa weeyaan waxbay ka xumarmayaan insha Allah waxa weeyaan video oo isla diiday wixii inta dhaafsan anigu leeyahay maaragtay specialist waxa weeyaan ilaahay baa iska wax garanaya wax soo dhigtay dadka hadda way diido moodahay laakiin inta fikiraysa guriga ahaan inaad ka dhigtid meel safe oo relaxed oo naxariis leh oo ilmuhu ku nafiskan intaas waa mid ku tirsan lahaa waa filim ka fog maxay baranayaan ay dadka xamdi
السلام عليكم سكة عشانين كما روانا كلهم هذا العسل ونويك إنه قفك إذا يستطيع mental illness معها weakness of the mind. That needs to be understood across the board because it's not. General قفك حتى تكمل الحين حتى مساعدة الحين وافق معهم. That sends the wrong message. In fact, NASA قايش هذا detail نفسي بيصير إن حدا looking at research doing or social trauma using Islamic framework. And healing from social trauma using Islamic framework. And if you think about the stories of the Prophet, people who were most loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were given life tests. And those stories are told to us as gifts to understand life is a challenge, life is a test. But, as I said earlier, you got this. Because Ilahi burden had a working master. Those messages are really, really, really important in the story. Really in a couple of time. In Afrika, Makkah, the Sham, really get about hotel, are very dangerous. In Capital was absolutely dangerous. Marka inaan isbarno reframing marka tibruga inaan kaatay u ducay xeer Allah ku siiye maanta way dhibaysaa hata adoo xanaaqsan waa sheegaysaa laakiin duco so what cunugii baranaa waxa waaye hooyaday ama aabahay ama reerkay awoway say ii shaqan yihiin xataa markay xanaaqsan yihiin way ii ducaynayaan so that builds self-esteem, that builds psychological resilience, that builds a sense of connection with family and love. psychological research being done on gratitude, on hope, on contemplation. Think about the adhkar every morning and afternoon, one of which is actually reminding, there's actually a dua every morning. That is A, recognition, B, that Allah got your back. So sometimes simple messages reminding that Allahu Akbar, what you're saying is all of this and all the difficulties.
So I'm more birds for me. But yeah, financial stress is one thing. It happens a lot to a lot of people, but yeah, it's of budgeting, right? At the end of the day, this is more important when you get a family. But the habits again, habits have to be built before that. Making sure that when you spend wisely. You spend on something that you use, something that will get you, is an investment and all of that. And a lot of people, what they do is spend is like keeping up with the Joneses. This person got a new car, I got a purse, I got a new purse, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, what matters is your life. It's your life. It's your family. It's people that you care for. So pleasing them and also making sure that the decisions that you make are in your interest to further your life down the line and to put you in a better position is what matters. So I would say that's the financial advice that I give myself, and I'm putting on now, alhamdulillah, things are good so far.
Thank you, Mohammed. I'm going to try to speak some English now, okay? Yes, we're Somali. Actually, the Minister of Education of Ontario this last 2 years has been changing the Ontario curriculum, not to the bad side that we know, but it's also the mathematical curriculum. And one of the main revamps they're doing in the math curriculum is financial literacy, as well as the coding and programming. So on the financial literacy perspective, all grades, their curriculum is changing, all textbooks and all ways of doing math it's not working with the 21st century, though they're realizing that children have to start financial literacy at a younger age, all the way to the elementary school. However, I wanted to add in our youth, when I say like middle school, high school, financial literacy. So part of mental health, and family health is spending time together. So it is important for children to know the journey of the finance of the house. My little younger one, which I am changing the way I parent, as 30 years of parenting, now he has an Excel sheet for all the bills that comes to the house and how we pay every. So even though he's grade 7 going to grade 8, he has that Excel sheet. When we sit down at the dining table, he helps me open the envelope, puts the math on this Excel sheet. He even now learned how to do the equations in the Excel sheet. So he gets wow per year how much money we spend on gas and heat and hydro and all of that. It helps kids to that perspective to really understand, but it also helps when your child who's just preteen, all the boys at his age has new shoes, new this, why mom and dad are not buying what I want. So you don't want your child, drugs or people just, pursuing, but he understands now, if I say how much money we have to pay here and there, because he's part of the family financial planning. It is also important, this is really sad to say, I see many Somali kids, especially in high school, who are getting caught on stealing. And as a principal, it breaks my heart, when you get a gas station or Bayshore Mall, somewhere call you of kids who are, and I noticed that other kids don't have that because we don't teach financial literacy to our kids. We don't give pocket money to our kids ahead of time. So it's okay, you know, even if they do the chores in the house, you know, but carruurta wax yar oo lacag inaad siisid, how to manage it. Ciidaha oo kale carruurta lacag inaan siino, how to manage it. So those kind of things prevent for them inay waxyaalaha qaar ku dhacaan. Thank you.
I just want to add something to what was just said when it comes to financial literacy, how important it is for kids to actually learn that when they're young. But I want to talk about the dark side of it, which is a lot of single moms or single dads. Sometimes they put a lot of pressure on their older kids to kind of bring in some money. And then when those kids feel like they don't have the capacity to, I don't know, get a job. So what do? They're going to steal, you know, they're going to go and get involved in criminal justice issues, which is, you know, gangs, drugs. They'll come back home with packs of money, jewelry, gold. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because mental health actually takes a big effect when it comes to these kids and feeling like they're pressured on bringing money back home. And I'm talking about our community because, of course, moms need help, you know, and they do have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids. So they're like, hey, if they all work, we can all work together. But then they don't have the tools to teach their kids the financial literacy, that they can also go get a job, you know, and just kind of support them that way.
And just a quick reminder for anyone recording, you know, there are, you know, pieces of information that are a little sensitive, so I know that will be considered for any future videos that are coming out. We will keep this conversation at a high level for public consumption. But obviously, I think I work in the social service sector myself. I manage an agency, Wadaagayo, and Hamdi and Naimo and Nora, and you know, this issue is only going to get tougher, and we have choices as a community, and one of the things that we need to be serious about is having a place where people can go, because we don't have a designated support system. All this talk is great, and hopefully we raise awareness. But this is the time where school is supposed to move the dialogue forward and and then put the resources, the infrastructure, and the professional experience together and make that happen. Nora and others are doing this work at the private level, but also very recent, supporting these you know, ongoing initiatives is really important. But at the same time, as a community, figuring that out and embedding these sort of resources and supports within the existing places like masjids and schools and community centers, and those are really critical. That's where people spend a lot of their time. And just, you know, I you know, as a sort of final thoughts here, you know, ilaha mahamle, kunti, on Friday night that has brought us here for something that inshallah will benefit us, our families, and inshallah others in the community. And maybe someone will take an idea tonight and make it something that will benefit thousands of people in the community. I think that's the intent of this. If I hear what Naz and Islino aim to get out of these conversations, it isn't for us to consume and go home. I think it's to further reflect and think about how we can advance this. I think if I leave with anything tonight, 2 words. It's that we're strong and we got this, right? Really, we got this, and I think thanks to all of you, thanks for the motivation. Jazakumullah khairan. Enjoy the desserts, and I want to thank Snino, Hamdi, Naimo, Nora, Bilan, Hassan, Nastejo, Bilan, Mahmoud.
May class workers, hello, good morning. Thank you so much for your patience. كل وقتي نص على وقتي بقول عايز بقول لهم Somali I'm high. Never on time. This is the second year. We tried. But Emeka, alhamdulillah, we still have an hour and a half. The dance floor is there. The design is amazing. Shaka mashik for getting so the dance floor. That's all I'm saying. But thank you so much for listening. And again, also thank you for all of our sponsors, the vendors. Please go check them out. You know, that's all that matters. Show up. And lastly, the Waxaan at the end of the day, and mental health is part of physical health, right? I think you know. Well, okay. So the same thing for mental health. The same health is good.
وحويان ديزرت واحد كسمة إيه من واحد تاني حاجة بس كويس لا سكر بري فري ولا and 360 photo booths at us DJ I was here